Meeting for Wednesday, September 17th, and we're reconvening at 7:29 PM. We had a lengthy discussion in camera, and we have a few motions arising from the discussion and from the business that was dealt with in camera. So, is someone prepared to make a motion? Councillor Wegener.
I move that council approve the purchase of a water license as presented and discussed during the closed meeting with water license advice from officials, ATIA Section 29(1)(a), and that the details of the discussion remain confidential pursuant to Section 29(1)(a) of the Access to Information Act until a mutually agreed upon date and the two parties. And that council approves a 2025 budget amendment in the amount of $350,000 for the purchase of a water license funded out of the Capital Reserve Water.
Thank you. Now that we have that motion on the floor, is there discussion or comments on the motion? Seeing and hearing none, I'll call the question. All in favor? And that motion is carried. Councillor Wegener.
I move that council approve the awarding of 2 physician incentive program grants as discussed during the closed meeting. Item physician incentive program, advice from officials, ATIA Section 29(1)(a), and for up to $45,000 for each for reimbursable costs in establishing new primary care medical centers in Strathmore. And that Strathmore name the grant recipients, and the names of the grant recipients remain confidential until the primary care medical offices are announced publicly by the applicant. And that council address or direct administration to bring the program and physician incentive program policy number 1113 and the physician sponsorship grant policy number 1111 to the March 4th, 2026 regular council meeting for discussion, including a discussion on how the town can support the expansion or renovation of established primary care medical offices after consultation with existing doctors. And that the remaining $30,000 budgeted for physician attraction be carried forward in the 2026 budget for discussion at the March 4th, 2026 regular council meeting.
Thank you. We have a motion on the floor. Is there discussion on that motion? Any comments? I want to thank council for working together in the in-camera session to work towards motions that will not only help attract new physicians and bring more doctors to town. I believe we have the opportunity for 5 new doctors, but I think it also helps address helping existing clinics with work they might want to do in their buildings and to also retain doctors that they might have. It's a move forward where we can consult with them and be in discussion with them, and we can also be involved in helping them should they need to have some financial help. Councillor Montgomery?
Thank you. So I really struggle with this for the following reason. I will support this, first of all, because I don't believe it would be appropriate or good kind of business practice to put something like this forward and then pull the rug from people that are making plans based on this. However, I do have concerns, and I don't like the fact that we are stepping into essentially provincial territory in our attempt to improve the access to doctors in this community. Do I think it's necessary? Yes, it's absolutely necessary that we get more doctors in this community. Do I like the fact that the province seems to be downloading this responsibility onto us? No, I don't. I have concerns about where this could lead. When the province, gets the idea that they can start to download these types of things or more things onto municipalities. So I don't like this idea personally. I don't think it's good for the community in the long run to run this program for very long. I think that this is hopefully just, or I hope that this is just a stopgap to attract new doctors in the near term, and I hope that there will be plans that will be put in place in the future by the appropriate levels of government to ameliorate this problem so that Strathmore residents are not having to pick up the bill for this. Thank you.
Thank you. Deputy Mayor Mitzner.
So I'm in favor of attracting doctors, but I will not be voting for this motion. I do not believe we should be subsidizing their leasehold improvements as a new business. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Peterson.
Thank you, Worship. I really appreciate the fact that this is relative to what Councillor Mitzner said, a small amount of money compared to what doctors have the potential to make. But I do know that the undertaking for the incentive program got the attention of doctors in our community, and our mayor was able to leverage this in talking to doctors to come to our community and to leverage it in such a way that he could promote our community as a place where physicians and other professionals could come and they could write their own story. This community is on the verge of burgeoning. We know this. And so it is an ideal place to go. So putting forward a physician incentive program to say, we want you this much. And we understand, you know, what Councillor Montgomery said, that this is a provincial responsibility, but it doesn't mean that we can't access the low-hanging fruit to bring those people forward that will come and serve this incredibly dire need that we have in our community when almost half of our population does not have a physician. And through this program, our mayor has been able to meet with people and effectively convince them that Strathmore is the place that they want to be. So I am very much in favor of this, and however long it goes, the next council will have opportunities to decide how they want to move forward into the future. What makes me happiest about this motion is that we are respecting our existing physicians and consulting them in this process, and we'll move forward collaboratively to build a better safety net for our community members. So I am very much in favor of it, and I want to thank our mayor and recognize that he has put in considerable effort and time above and beyond. Thank you.
Thank you for those kind words. And I agree, in a perfect world, we wouldn't have to do this, but we were informed by a doctor that we were in a real crisis situation as far as a loss of doctors. So I think this is a good way to bring in new doctors and also help support existing clinics, as I said before. Any other comments, councillors? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All in favor? And opposed? And the motion is carried. We had one motion that we forgot to mention as we came out of in camera, so I have Councillor Langmaid. Do you have it, or Councillor
You go ahead, Councillor.
I thought you were Councillor Montgomery. Councillor Langmaid.
I got it. Thank you very much, Your Worship. I'd like to move that Council adopt the recommendation for closed meeting item annexation agreement negotiation, advice from officials, ATIA Section 29(1)A, as presented in the confidential administrative report and as discussed in camera.
Thank you for that motion. Any discussion on that motion in front of us? Seeing and hearing none. All in favor? And the motion is carried. Thank you, everyone. Councillor Wagoner.
Okay, I've got one more here. I move to direct the administration to reach out to the Strathmore Hospital Auxiliary and other interested parties to discuss collaborative possibilities related to enhancing local health care, and to have that done by prior to October 15th, 2025.
Thank you for that motion, and if I could just make one comment, I still have a month to go before the election. I don't know what'll happen, but I am more than glad to meet with these folks as soon as possible in the rest of this term. So thank you for putting the motion forward. Councillor Peterson, thank you for bringing this concept to us. And if there are no further points of discussion, I'll call the question. All in favor? And opposed? None? Thank you. That motion is carried. We move now to item 4, public hearing. We don't have a public hearing tonight. Public comments, I believe we have one person, but I should read the preamble. Members of the public are welcome to provide comments regarding items on the agenda tonight. Please note this is your time to let council know your thoughts, comments, pause. Comments will not be taken from the gallery after this portion of the meeting concludes, period. While council welcomes public comments and questions, there will be no debating during this section of the agenda. I'd like to remind everyone that if you wish to speak, please raise your hand and I will call you to the microphone. Don't know why I said that like that either. Before sharing your comments, please clearly state and spell your name for the record. Each member of the public will be given 5 minutes to speak to an item on today's agenda. And as we want to hear from as many members of the public as possible, we ask that speakers try to be succinct with comments focused on presenting council with new information. And also, before we get started, please be aware that a bell will ring at the 4-minute mark, providing you 1 minute to conclude your comments, kind of like Pavlov. Is there anyone present who wishes to speak? Good evening and welcome. I believe your name is Claude Brown. Welcome to the meeting, and if you could introduce yourself again and spell your first and last names.
Thank you, Mayor Fuel. My name is Claude Brown, C-L-A-U-D-E, last name Brown, B-R-O-W-N. And I really appreciate you guys giving me yet another opportunity to speak at the podium. First off, I do want to thank all of you for your time and dedication in this role over this term. I know it's coming to an end, the term, and some of you may be back, some of you may not be back. But whatever happens, and just want to wish you all the best of luck and, no harm, no foul. Anyways, that being said, the 2 items I would like to talk to tonight are items 9.1, the Government of Canada Cybersecurity Cooperation Program. So one thing I've not seen in here is I want to make sure that this is not contradictory to Bill 18 that the Alberta government passed, that no municipality shall enter into a financial agreement with the federal government. So is that being cleared? Okay, just want to make sure that that was cleared because I didn't see it on the agenda. The other item that I wanted to speak to, and by the way, even if it wasn't cleared, definitely good to go ahead with that because cybersecurity is a threat. I do work in IT, and I do know that that is a very important thing to work towards. The other one is the item that Councillor Peterson is proposing, the notice of motion at the end of the meeting. So thinking back to the meeting that we had where the gallery was full and there were people waving their arms around and they weren't very happy about the wetlands and so forth, I'm not 100% certain that people want a walkway put through the wetlands. And seeing that council's term is coming to an end in but 33 days, it seems a little overreach to be tasking the administration with work that's going to take them into January. So what we're doing here is we're actually putting workload on the administration that the next administration or the next council will have to bear the burden of. And so I don't believe that that work should be put past the term of this administration. So I would ask that, even though it's a great idea, I would ask that the resolution or that you have at the end should be limited to a feasibility study and a cost estimation, and anything beyond that is probably overreach beyond the term of this council. So I'd ask you to consider amending the motion. That's it.
Your Worship,
Thank you.
didn't we already vote on that motion? They just read the notice?
Jonathan, I think you just read the notice of motion at the last meeting.
Thank you, Worshiping Council. That's correct. At the last council meeting on September 3rd, council provided Councilor Peterson provided notice for this motion, and then tonight,
We're dealing with that
council will
motion.
be voting on the motion.
Okay.
So do you need any more clarification on what I'm asking?
I think you're asking us to defer this.
Yes, please, or
Concept.
amend it so that it's, doesn't extend past the term of the existing council. So we're not incurring additional costs that voters have not voted for.
Okay, I understand your take on the subject. Councillor Peterson?
No, I'm sorry, Your Worship, I
Okay. So I don't see this item, oh, I see dealing with the notices of motion, okay. So we'll deal with that when it comes to that point? Okay, thank you, Claude.
Sorry, could I just ask you something, Claude? Sure. Sorry, and because your concern would be which part of the action of the motion is concerning?
So if you read the motion, what's happening here is that we're asking for a recommendation that administration do a feasibility study, cost estimation, community engagement, and an implementation timeline. So that's a very big, broad ask that will go, the work will have to be carried on into the next term of council. And so this would be presented to council all the way in January of next year. So I don't think that it's appropriate to task administration with work that is beyond the term of this council, so that the other council has to essentially pay for it. They didn't get to vote on it.
I see. So you just don't want administration to be directed to do work that will, the next council will have to kind of review essentially.
Yeah, I'm not against exploring the idea. I think actually it's not a bad idea, but I would say that it should be limited in scope so that it could be completed within the term of this council, and anything beyond that should be voted after the next council is in.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank
I'm
you.
curious, though, we have some items that have come up tonight that will also carry on into the next term with the new council, possibly picking up the discussion, picking up the debate, picking up the decision-making following that. So I don't know if that, I mean, we don't have any more public meetings for the next 33 days, but we still are councillors for the town of Strathmore. I still have duties and things to do. I'm just wondering, I guess I'm looking for input as far as how I guess we can just bring it up when it comes up at that point and discuss it. That's probably the best way to go.
Yeah, that's great. Just
Okay,
asking
thank
that
you.
you consider it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
All right, that brings us to 6 delegations. I don't believe we have any delegations tonight. That brings us to 7 consent agenda. Are there any items on the consent agenda that council would like to see removed and dealt with individually? Councillor Peterson?
I'm ready for the motion, Your Worship.
Okay.
I would move that council adopt the recommendations of the following agenda reports by an omnibus motion. 8.1, regular council meeting minutes, September 3rd, 2025. 9.1, Government of Canada Cybersecurity Cooperation Program, CSP for the Town of Strathmore Cybersecurity Resilience Program 2026. And 9.2, municipal election voting.
Thank you very much. Is there any discussion on that motion? I will call the question. All in favor? That motion is carried. We move now to 10, bylaws. 10.1, 2026 fees bylaw number 25-23. Riley, good evening.
Good evening, Your Worship and members of council. Before you is the 2026 fees bylaw and related fees and charges schedule for the year. The rates in these schedules form a big part of the upcoming 2026 budget, and passing of the bylaw will provide clarity and direction to administration in terms of revenue to include in the budget. Administration has reviewed the fees and charges schedule and has made some recommended changes for the year 2026 for your consideration compared to the 2025 version. The most notable I wanted to focus on were utilities to highlight. So we are recommending a few inflationary increases to water and wastewater consumption rates. we're recommending reallocating some infrastructure reserve fund charges to better align with where we project the highest need for spending in the coming years. However, we're offsetting that with a $5.50 monthly decrease to solid waste charges on monthly bills due to provincial rebates we're expecting to receive in the upcoming year. The net of these total changes to the average residential home would be a $1 decrease on monthly bills for your consideration. I do want to note, however, too, we are recommending a $2 paper billing fee to residents who choose to receive their monthly utility bills by mail instead of email to reflect the cost of it to the taxpayers. In terms of recreation for our rec facilities, we're recommending most access charges, admissions, passes, things like that to stay as is, where facility and equipment rentals, we're recommending a 2% inflationary increase to rates. Other than those, most schedules have proposed minimal inflationary or no changes at all to fees from last year. This really concludes all my comments, Your Worship. Do you or any members of council have any questions for me?
Questions from councillors for Riley and the finance team?
Just to reiterate, Your Worship, there are, other than fee for rentals, there is no increases to the existing schedule.
Through the chair, yes, that's my understanding. Admissions, things like that, we're recommending to stay the same rate for 2026 as 2025. It's just room rentals, pool rentals, things like that are recommending that 2% increase.
Thank you so much.
Any other questions or comments for Riley? Then I guess we begin the motion process. Councillor Montgomery.
Okay, I'll just make a comment first, and then I'll make a motion, I guess. So I would like to see, hopefully in the future, especially when it comes to the fees that we're charging for using the facilities, mainly like the sports facilities, not so much like kind of renting, the civic center or something like that. But I would like to see more creativeness, is how I'll put it, and attention paid to looking for ways to better fit what the residents, are looking for or need. And one of the things I've brought up in the past, for example, is at the swimming pool, when it's the last hour of public swim, for instance, most people are not going to want to walk in the door and pay full price to stay for, about 45 minutes of swimming. And so, we should see something in here that says last hour of, public swimming, $2 or something like that, and I keep asking for stuff like that. And I that's the creativity I'm looking for, and if we look at other communities, what are other communities doing, Okotoks, for instance, when you buy a yearly pass, like let's call it an all access pass, if you renew it before it expires, they actually give you a discount, so it incentivizes people to continue to renew. And that's what we're kind of missing here is we're missing, this is just, it's just kind of, here you go, make it fit or don't. And I want us to fit to what the people are doing and what the people want rather than making them fit to us. And so I hope in the future that we'll see, something like that. With that, I'll move first reading for bylaw 25-23 being the 2026 fees bylaw. Thank you.
Thank you. All in favor? That motion is carried. Councillor Peterson.
I'd move the council give second reading to bylaw 25-23 for the 2026 fees bylaw.
Thank you. And now that we have a motion for second reading, is there further discussion or debate? Councillor Peterson, Councillor Montgomery.
Yeah, so I won't be able to support this bylaw tonight. And pardon me, please, administration. I know that this doesn't make it easier for you. I feel like I'm being asked right now to to approve something that I don't know the effect of, to be honest. I need to see last year's numbers before I, so I can assess what kind of effect, or how successful the rates were, One of the things I've focused on in the past is the all access pass. And we went from $1,000 to $1,500 in a year. And then, I wanted to find out, how many passes, did we actually sell at that rate? Did we actually even increase the revenue that we actually, saw the year before? So these are the types of things that I personally would like to be analyzing, or I would like to at least see analysis, reported to us, so that when we make these decisions about the fees, we can actually say, yeah, I chose that because I saw the effect that it had, or I saw I know the effect it might have, et cetera. So again, please pardon me for making the the next, couple months a little bit more difficult, but I can't support this as it is. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Peterson?
I do support the motion, Your Worship. I'm really glad to see that they've been able to contain the costs, and they have provided this council with rationale around that. To Councillor Montgomery's point, I think, and I appreciate that you make concessions, to our administration, but I think they can only act according to direction through motion given by council for the kind of information that you're requesting. And so I think that that's a really good understanding for future councils, like when they need that information, that they have to do it by motion. And so, I think that's good advice, for future, for sure.
So this is a fairly rare occurrence. My question to lead services, if the second reading passes with one or two people against, then we have another motion for unanimous consent, and it could fail there, and this would go to the next council then? The work of this council would then be on to the next council.
Yeah, thank you, Your Worship Council. So currently there is second reading on the floor for council to consider. Should this motion pass, council would have the option to make the motion for unanimous consent for a third and final reading. That would have to pass for council to consider third reading tonight. If that does not pass, then this item will come back at the next available council meeting.
Thank you. So we have a motion on the floor for second reading. Any further discussion? All in favor? Opposed? And that motion is carried. Councillor Wegener?
I move that council give unanimous consent to give third and final reading to bylaw number 2523, being the 2026 fees bylaw.
Thank you.
I have a question for clarification, Your Worship.
Okay.
My question to Riley is, that if we don't have consensus on this motion, then the only thing that would be lost in terms of revenue would be the increases to the facilities rentals, as you just described? Until the next council.
Through the
Was it-
chair, that's exactly. The fees are effective January 1st of 2026. Part of the want to get it passed now is the budget impact for 2026. It's going to be getting presented to the incoming council in 8 weeks or so, kind of thing. So part of that is giving administration clear direction on we support these rates, kind of things like that in terms of what gets included in the budget.
Thank you, Riley. Councillor Langmaid?
Thank you, Worship. And I want to thank administration for the work that they've done on the fees bylaw and their ability to keep things, for the most part, level, and seeing a slight decrease to our monthly solid waste fees is always welcome. I'm not particularly opposed to anything that's been proposed here, but I do think that this is an item that the new council should be able to put their hands on, and no matter what I say tonight, they'd probably want to come back and put their hands on it anyways. So I just think that this is something, given that nothing is coming into effect until January 1st, so there's no lost revenue potential here. I assume, with the assumption that it will be eventually passed by the new council. I just think that it's something that, and I know that it's also a bylaw that we've had a number of meetings of debate and discussion over. So just taking it all in one night when there's the opportunity for a new council to have a look at it, I think this is something that we should give them an opportunity to have their say on.
Thank you. Kara?
So thank you, Your Worship, and members of council. I just want to just remind council and the rest of anyone who's in the public and in the gallery as well, is that even if council did decide to proceed and go through to third reading, there's nothing that would prevent the subsequent council from making amendments to the fees bylaw going forward. And so I think the thought process here from administration's perspective is we wanted to bring it forward, obviously get third reading, so that we have an opportunity to build the base budget for consideration for the new council. Should council, the new council obviously will be presented with the fees bylaw as part of the package, and all that information, all the revenue, everything will form into the budget. And then at that time, should the new council want to make further amendments, it would have the ability to do so. So I just want to also just clarify that if it helps.
Thank you, Kara. So we have a motion on the floor for potential unanimous consent. I'll call the question. All in favor and opposed, and the motion is defeated. We move now to item 11, councillor information and inquiries. 11.1, questions between councillors and council statements. Any councillors? I believe Councillor Peterson, yes.
Thank you for this opportunity, Your Worship. I wanted to just make this statement that most recently in the case of Kester versus Wheatland County, I wish for our community to know that the court has dismissed Wheatland County's appeal and upheld the lower court's decision, thus quashing the sanctions Wheatland County Council imposed on Councillor Glenn Kester in 2022. The full report can be found on many places and on local Facebook sites, and in short, the investigation report into Councillor Kester's conduct was found to be, and I quote, number one, fundamentally flawed with no rational analysis linking the facts to unprofessional conduct. Number two, the municipal council's process was procedurally unfair. And number three, the publication ban has now been lifted in the interest of public transparency. There are multiple reasons why this judgment of the court is important to our community. When Councillor Kester was removed from his committees as a result of the in-camera decisions of the majority of his council, he was removed from committees where our community had shared responsibility. The loss of his expertise, experience, and insight was a devastating blow to the work of these committees, and much was lost due to his removal through the procedural unfairness noted by the court. His honesty and integrity were never in question, and I am grateful that he has not let this 3 years defeat him, but has decided to let his name stand again for election in October 25.
Thank you. Any other councillor statements? Councillor Montgomery?
Thank you. I don't have anything prepared, but given that this is the last meeting of this term, I wanted to thank my fellow councillors for all of their hard work and for teaching me a lot. You know, we didn't always obviously get along, but I did learn a lot from you guys, and you know, I've always appreciated you know, hearing different perspectives and different opinions. And I want to thank administration, actually. It's been a real pleasure working with you guys. I hope I continue to get to work with you guys, but regardless, it's been an honor and a privilege, and I've always been very impressed with the quality of people that work for the town of Strathmore, and the dedication and effort that they put in. And yeah, and I just, I wish people in administration all the best, and yeah, I just wanted to thank you guys for making this a good term, and for doing you know, what you guys do for our community. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I will echo those comments. I appreciate staff administration. I've learned a lot working with CAO Scoble. Kara's looked after me, kept me on the straight and narrow. I've enjoyed the challenges of this term. There have been some challenges, but hopefully everyone feels that we did accomplish some good things. One of the things I'm especially proud of is that we did, and we worked together to create probably the best vision, strategic vision booklet that I've ever been a part of, and it became so clear to me that I actually became comfortable, and for lack of a better expression, I understood it, I lived it. It became very, very very much a part of who I was as a fellow counselor. So, and one of the things tied into that is the work we did to work with administration, the senior leadership team to get more housing options available for our people. We know that there is a real housing crunch in Strathmore, affordable housing, attainable housing, affordable rents, not residential properties to be able to buy, and so we've really worked hard to create a larger inventory, and that's it has a lot to do with our senior leadership team, our CIO and administration, and our staff, the planning department, finance department. So thank you all. I'm not sure if I'll be back in a month or so, but I appreciated working with you, got to know you as individuals, and hopefully we had some enjoyment over the time as well. So thank you to everyone. Any other comments? Board and committee reports, Councillor Langmaid.
Thank you, Your Worship. Last week, the Culture and Wellness Task Force met for the final time, and the members wish to share some final thoughts with Council, so I bring to you my final report from the Culture and Wellness Task Force. This task force was an important opportunity for cultural groups to have a vehicle to communicate with Council outside of the community funding night each fall. Proposals for funding through this task force were competitive, and we were able to support multiple organizations and programs in Strathmore, including organizations that support the performing and creative arts, the expansion of the Alberta Culture Days activities that are occurring throughout the month of September, and other cultural events in the community. And I wanted to update you and let you know that all funding that was approved by Council has been successfully allocated to organizations throughout the community. Members of the task force have recommended that the task force be continued by the incoming Council, that the scope of the task force be reevaluated, expanded, and that local groups be invited to participate and appoint members to that task force to increase the number of voices at the table, and that the town should consider pursuing grant funding to support arts, culture, and wellness in the future, and that Council continue to prioritize funding for these programs and initiatives going into the future. Cultural programs and events give individuals a sense of belonging, help make Strathmore an attractive and welcoming place to live for all, and contribute to the small town feel of our community that residents really value. Task force members wish to thank Council for the opportunity to serve the community and to contribute to the overall culture and wellness of Strathmore. And I'd like to appreciate express my appreciation for the opportunity I had to serve on that committee and serve on that task force, and thank the members for their continued support in our work that we did. And thank you, Council. That concludes my final report from the Culture and Wellness Task Force.
Thank you, Councillor Langmaid, Councillor Peterson, and Councillor Wegener.
Your Worship, I just would request from Councillor Langmaid, I'm wondering if she could somehow, for maybe, I guess it would be for inclusion in the minutes, submit the report. It'd be really useful, I think, for all candidates running in the next election to see that report and the fullness of the good ideas that they brought forward, and I really appreciate the report. Thank you.
I'd be happy to forward a printed copy to Ledge Services for inclusion in the minutes.
Thank you. Councillor Wegener.
Although I don't have any board or committee reports right now, I was honored to be on Wheatland Housing Management Body and also on WDEMSA. So they both have been quiet through the summer, except a couple of closed meetings that are confidential. But tomorrow night is the last Wheatland Housing Management Body meeting prior to the reorganization, and Monday is the last WDEMSA meeting prior to the reorganization and election. So again, I thank everyone here for their trust in me and being on these two committees, which were very, they were powerful, but also very gratifying. So again, I think that, and we will get the minute reports out prior to the end of our term.
Thank you. Any other committee or board reports? And just to sum everything up, thank you all of you who were on boards and committees. Thank you for all the time and effort you put in them over the past 4 years. It's much appreciated. 11.3, question and answer period. Do any councillors have any questions for administration? Seeing and hearing none. Jonathan, no administrative inquiries tonight, which brings us then to 11.5 notices of motion. 11.5.1, the boardwalk through the wetlands. Councillor Peterson.
Thank you, Your Worship. I move that council direct administration to investigate the following. Number one, a feasibility study. Assess the feasibility of constructing a sustainable pathway in the town of Strathmore-owned wetlands south of Grace Park, including an assessment of the scope of ecological assessment required and environmental regulatory compliance requirements to be met, and ensuring compliance with Parks and Pathways bylaw number 14-07. Number two, a cost estimation, to provide a preliminary cost estimate for the preliminary assessments and any third-party studies required, construction, maintenance, and potential funding sources and partnerships for the Pathway project. And three, community engagement, outline a plan for engaging with local community and stakeholders to gather input and feedback regarding the sustainable pathway. And four, implementation timeline, to develop a project timeline for the investigative process from initial study through to potential construction phases if approved, and that the findings and recommendations resulting from this investigation be reported back to council by January 21st of 2026. And if I might speak to the motion, Your Worship. So we do have several opportunities for collaboration. We've had groups come forward to us offering money. We have had groups come forward offering in-kind supports, and they understand that this will be a long process. Our senior leadership was consulted in putting this together, and they have full confidence that they can do this. And certainly council's term goes for 4 years. It doesn't stop because you have 2 months left or a month left in your term, and the work continues throughout, and certainly work does not stop for the senior leadership team. So there is no urgency in the total project, but there is urgency in building the collaborative process, because the people that are willing to put money into this have some urgency in being able to do so, because the money that they have are monies from programs under the working casinos, and it's casino money, so it has to be designated. And so there is some urgency around that. And of course, there are both fall and spring environmental studies that need to be conducted. And the school involvement also is something that will take place in the fullness of time. So there will be lots of opportunity for input for any new council. No decision, no fundamental decision will be made on this until January. So this new council will have all the fullness of the information, and they will be able to be the purveyors of the action that will drive this forward.
Thank you for that. Councillor Wegener.
I will be supporting this, this motion tonight. I think we have a fantastic pathway system throughout the town. This boardwalk around Grays Park and that would just add a little more diversity to it. I can see it being used through the schools as teaching lessons and that. So I think it is a great motion, and I will fully support this this motion.
Thank you. Councillor Langmaid.
Thank you, Your Worship. First, I'd like to thank Councillor Peterson for the time she put into crafting this motion and the thought she put in it to ensure that a fulsome report comes back to the new council, and that they'll have all the information needed to consider the recommendations of that report and what might come forward. What we consistently hear as a council is that the residents of Strathmore really appreciate and prioritize our green areas and our natural spaces. And that's been echoed through studies and surveys that were completed before I was a councillor, studies and surveys that have been conducted while I was a councillor, and I don't see a future where that will not be an outcome of future surveys that are done for future councils. So I think that this will give an excellent opportunity for the next council to have a fulsome report to consider and a potential project to take on to help improve our green areas and our parks in town. And if they don't wish to continue with it, they don't wish to continue with it. But I'd like them to have the fulsome opportunity to read the information and make that decision for themselves. So I will be supporting this motion tonight, and thank you, Councillor Peterson, for bringing it to council.
Thank you. Councillor Montgomery.
Thank you. So I do think that this is an idea that is worth investigating, and for that reason, I will support it. And I'll leave it at that. Thank. No, that's okay. I think that this is like I said, I love the natural areas of Strathmore. I would love to see more people enjoying those and learning about them and connecting with them. And so I do appreciate Councillor Peterson bringing this idea forward. So thank you.
Administration, did you want to comment on this motion or how it impacts you and your staff?
Well, as Councillor Peterson mentioned, she did reach out to administration for advice on content and timelines. It was set up to accommodate the next few months that we have here with the election. The administration's pretty busy during the election. We have to onboard the council right away, then the budget, and then the council strat planning in January. So it's been meant to dovetail with all of that to give us the time to do the work, but still focus on the other stuff. The council strategic planning session is scheduled for January 24th, so this information will be in hand for the new council to review as part of their strategic planning going forward. The information was also provided as the timeline was also decided upon as Councillor Peterson outlined, because then if the next council so chooses to act, you can kick off the necessary spring monitoring events if it's a project that the council of the day wants to move ahead with. So as to the scope of the work, that's pretty much what administration does every day is what's outlined in the scope there. So.
Thank you. And if I could echo Councillor Langmaid's comments, maybe from a slightly different perspective, for a new council, the learning curve is so steep, and there is so many things that come at you in such a quick succession. I mean, right from the start, there will be sessions on governance, and I think anything that, as you said, Councillor Langmaid, anything that we can do to give them the most information when a topic like this comes forward, it'll make them a better council, and it'll help them make better decisions as they go forward. And if there's one word that I heard a lot this spring, it was the word wetlands, and this is a chance for us to do something educational. It's a chance to do something to really impact those wetlands and really add to it. So I will be supporting it. And Councillor Peterson, do you have another comment?
Just to close, Your Worship, I think, it's important to note that as you said in the spring, every single member of this council got an education on wetlands through the work of the people of the community that came before this council, and it was extremely useful, and it will inform wetlands policy and land use bylaws well into the future and area structure plans as well. And I really applaud every single member of this council in coming together to do this. And I also want to note that Councillor Montgomery did bring up the idea of a boardwalk 4 years ago, and there was no fruition on it because at that time we didn't own the wetlands. And so I think that it's just important to acknowledge that that this was a group effort, and I'm appreciative of every one of you.
Thank you. If there are no further comments or discussion points, I will call the question. All in favor? And the motion is carried. Jonathan, I don't believe there were any items of correspondence in our consent agenda tonight, so we have no. All right, that brings me to the adjournment for this term. Thank you, everyone. Good night.